Next Door Neighbors is made possible by the support of the Nissan Foundation.
When I cook, I always think about my family. Those memories inspire me to cook the best way I can.
Food. It's so much more than simple sustenance.
When you meet somebody from a different nation, you try to find the common ground. And if you like the food, you get to appreciate the contribution of the other person.
In traditions handed down over the course of generations, we find the texture, flavor, and aroma of both kitchen and culture.
I think having the food and also knowing how to make it is a very special thing that keeps me attached to my culture and heritage.
There's something kind of magical about food. Almost everybody I know loves to eat, and so when you invite them over to share a meal, walls are immediately broken down.
Join us as we meet the people and taste the food of Nashville's Venezuelan, Ethiopian, and Palestinian communities in Next Door Neighbors, Taste of Home.
The taste of food is so related to the culture. The aroma of the kitchen. This is something that brings home to you. It is something that you probably wanted to put in your suitcase when you leave your country, and you can't.
Back in 1976, Ramon Cisneros said goodbye to the home-cooked tastes and smells of Venezuela. He was off to attend college at the University of Tennessee at Martin to study English. And he wasn't alone.
About 600 people came from Venezuela. There was a gentleman there who created a new school. It was English as a second language. You start missing, of course, your culture right away. You miss your family, and then food becomes a big issue. I think food was one of the things that we missed the most. So what we tried to do was to recreate those foods that we have in our homeland.
Many Venezuelan dishes involved hard-to-find ingredients like specialty corn flour and tropical fruits and vegetables. But one dish in particular involved ingredients commonly found in small-town Tennessee.
It's called pabellón criollo, which is very common in the Caribbean basin. But it's basically meat and rice and black beans and plantains. So at that time, the plantains was, kind of the thing that it was hard to find, but brown sweet potato was a great substitute for it initially.
Once Ramon started cooking, the aroma attracted some welcome attention.
That's when I met Debbie, and she was very curious from day one about the Venezuelan food. Several of us were dating American girls, which was a great way to learn English.
I was literally swept off my feet. He was just really quite adventurous and fun-loving, and that's one of the things that I remember most about meeting the Venezuelan group. They were really fun-loving and had a lot of tradition. I realized that there was a bigger world out there than just Tennessee or even the United States of America. And different languages and different cultures can bring you things that you've never even imagined or tasted before. The pabellón, the rice and the beans and the meat with the flavors of the onions and the peppers, things we were familiar with but never in that type of cooking. It's really delicious. I will say one of the things that I cherish about the Venezuelans, they are so family oriented. And food is a part of that, the deep family ties they have with each other. It helps us today to continue that culture that we loved so much.
Today, more Venezuelans are moving to Nashville as the economic and political crisis in Venezuela has forced millions to leave the country in search of a better life.
I moved to Nashville 2 years ago. Everything was getting worse and worse in my country. So I wasn't able to get a lot of food, medicines. It was really hard. I have to start like a new life here, something that I wasn't expecting. I'm happy here, and I'm glad that I'm here, but it wasn't nothing that I planned for my future.
Despite many hardships, moving to a city with a vibrant Hispanic culture and a growing number of Venezuelans has eased the transition and created new opportunities.
Nashville is now like a multicultural city. Today, I'm able to go here in Nashville, different places, and have my own Venezuelan food like arepas. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do that outside my country. In that moment, I'm feeling like I'm back home.
20 years ago, when we came here to the States, we didn't see many Venezuelan people here. Nowadays, you can see many Venezuelans coming here to Nashville. I mean, I feel so good about it, because it'll give them an opportunity just to make a life like we did.
Fidel Vasquez and his wife, Yvonne Reyes, are the owners of Caracasville, a Nashville eatery that serves up Venezuelan-style street food at the Nashville Farmers Market. Their specialty is a sandwich made with a warm and chewy cornbread called an arepa.
One of the most popular ways to cook arepa is on the grill, and it's so good. And you get it off the grill, and you fill up the arepa with the chicken. You can do beef, you can do pork, you can do seafood, you can do vegetables. Whatever you put in the arepa, it's gonna be good. I think the most important ingredient is what you put in your soul. When you cook, you need to love what you're doing. You cook with your heart.
An arepa is a quintessential Venezuelan meal. It makes you feel like home is our comfort food.
Caracasville's arepas have become a popular item at the Nashville Farmers Market, but that success didn't come overnight.
When I came here to the States, I had my degree in computer science, but it was hard for me to get a job because my English skills weren't that good. I didn't mind doing any kind of job. I just took whatever because I know that I need to support my family. And one of the things that I told myself I'm good at is cooking. I feel passionate about cooking. I love cooking. How hard could it be? And that's when I found Nashville Farmer Market.
When we first started, we were like, nobody, like 2 or 3 customers. And I was like, I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to disappoint Fidel. I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll do better tomorrow.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
And they did do better, so much so that they had to recruit their daughters to help out.
They come, and when they come, they're so happy to help us, and they're like, Mom, I feel like we're going somewhere.
My family is one of the main reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing. I started cooking because I just want to give them a better future.
Fidel is fulfilling his dream of running a successful business, but he and his family haven't forgotten the ongoing struggles of those who are still in Venezuela.
Most of my family are in Venezuela. It's really hard where they're living. My cousins say, we don't have food. I tell them, you know what? I can help you. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful that I came at the right time, and that I work hard for what I have, and that I can help my family too.
I feel proud of what I do. I feel proud of my food. I feel proud of my own culture, and that's what inspired me.
When I was younger, I definitely felt out of place a lot. It was fine when I was in elementary school because, I was still a kid, so I didn't really understand. But it was always kind of weird for me. I felt like I had like a double life. At school, I'm speaking English, and the cultures are just very different. And then I come home and we're speaking Amharic and eating different food.
Abigail Merha is a second-generation American. Born in Nashville to Ethiopian parents, her entire upbringing was influenced by traditional Ethiopian culture, including its distinctive cuisine.
I think Food and art played a huge role in me finding my identity and, being comfortable in the fact that I wasn't born in Ethiopia and I'm not fully Ethiopian. And, maybe I'm not completely American, but that's okay. I'm a little bit of both, and I think that's what makes me who I am, and I think that's really cool. Pretty much all Ethiopian dishes are some sort of stew, and that stew is mostly composed of onions, some sort of oil or butter, and then the spice of choice.
While the stews are classic Ethiopian fare, the way they're eaten is also unique, with a flatbread instead of a spoon.
Injera is the base of traditional Ethiopian food. It's sort of like what you use as your utensil. So traditionally, injera is a flatbread that's made mostly of teff, which is a native grain to Ethiopia. You put the sauces on the injera, it kind of soaks it in, and you use it to eat with your hands.
Abigail takes those traditions and gives them her own flavor. She describes her cooking as Ethiopian fusion, and it's formed the core of her catering business called The Spicy Lentil.
The first way that it's fusion is that I take aspects of Ethiopian food, flavor, spices, methods of cooking, and I blend it with American styles of cooking and flavors and ways of serving the food. And then the second way that it's fusion is that I try to take traditionally meat dishes and make them using vegetables and vegan alternatives.
It's an approach that's won her a lot of fans, but not everybody is ready for change.
When it comes to sort of changing up traditional Ethiopian cuisine, I think the response is mostly positive, but there definitely are a good number of people who are not really into the whole fusion thing, and they kind of feel like it's just Americanized, and people who are here who try really hard to cling on to what little they have of Ethiopia, that they just don't want you to mess with it at all. I have a deep appreciation for tradition, traditional cultures, but I also think that it's really important to challenge those things, because I think that's the only way that we can advance and get better.
With a population of around 15 to 20,000, the Ethiopian community in Nashville has grown in recent years. Today, most are coming for education, but many first-generation immigrants still struggle with the language and experience isolation in their new home. Traditions bring comfort, and one of the most important traditions in Ethiopian culture is the coffee ceremony.
Coffee ceremony is not only about drinking a coffee. It's all about sharing your experience. It could be some life issues that you have right that moment. So people will sit and chit-chat and converse about what's going on in their life. Most of the time they have a solution that comes from the other end. So the coffee ceremony is a way of getting together and conversing about life.
Yurga Alambelicha was one of the first Ethiopians to make her home in Nashville. She recalls the days when her mother performed the coffee ceremony in their home village.
My mother used to make coffee, and she'll call her neighbors to come to the house. And this is a ritual thing. Everybody takes turn to make coffee. It takes almost about 2 hours from the beginning to the end. During that time, it's really therapeutic for the mothers to talk about their family, the husband, the children, what kind of problem they have. They talk about solutions.
Yurga fears that in today's world, there may not be room for age-old customs like the coffee ceremony, at least not in the form that she once knew it.
The social life is changed. They don't have time.
Today, the Ethiopian community is finding a new place for the coffee ceremony. Helena Falik works with the Ethiopian Community Association in Nashville, also known as ECAN. She and other leaders are using the coffee ceremony format as a way of dealing with issues that affect the community.
In Ethiopia, coffee is not just a drink. You know what to expect when you are invited for coffee. Somebody wants to talk to you about something.
At this coffee ceremony, ECAN invited the Metro Police Department to create a two-way conversation around Ethiopian culture and police practices.
If you see a police officer, don't be scared. I just encourage everybody to understand the law a little bit more, take the time to, interact with officers.
We Ethiopians have culturally struggled with assimilating with American culture. ECAN is trying to bridge the gap between the Ethiopian community and police, having a stronger relationship. Also, on the other side, we want police officers to understand our culture.
This coffee ceremony gives a chance, to people to gather together and to discuss personal as well as societal problems or issues. That's good.
That's one of the reasons I love United States, is because anything is possible. You can reach your dream as long as you're willing to work hard for it. And I like my life here. However, I still hold on to my Ethiopian roots because I feel like that helped build me into who I am today. It doesn't necessarily have to contradict with each other, holding on to your roots while living the American dream.
When I came to America, I bring the Palestinian kitchen with me, so I will not forget Palestine at all. The ancient recipes from my mother and grandmother, they are here with me, and I'm teaching my daughter how to make this food.
Iman Hantuli and her husband Hantuli are the owners of Pita House, a Palestinian restaurant in Nashville. It's a family-run business where everyone plays a role.
When we start the business, of course, it's for us to have a good life, for my kids also.
Before moving to Nashville, the family didn't have a background in the restaurant business. In the Palestinian West Bank, Hantuli was an electrical engineer. Then, in the early 2000s, they found themselves in the middle of a war.
It was really hard for my husband to go to work and for my kids to go to school because it wasn't safe.
When that happened, I started to think, what to do now? I have 5 kids. I need to move.
We decided to go somewhere to be safe and to live like other people without fears.
But the change would come with trade-offs. Moving to the U.S. would mean starting from scratch. Fortunately, they had family in Nashville.
When I come in here, like in Nashville, I start working in Roma Pizza with my brother. He teach me how to do pizza because I don't have that experience to work in restaurants.
After a brief stint in the pizza business, Hantuli decided that if he was going to operate a restaurant, he wanted to do it his way, with the food he loves.
I need to go and to make Palestinian food, a Palestinian restaurant. Communication or love start with stomach. If you feed somebody good food, he always remember you. He come back. He start respect you.
It's like planting a seed, and we hope it will grow.
In the future, my daughters and my son can make it a tree with what we started.
I hope people come here and know who are these Palestinian people. Come here and taste our food and talk with us.
Being Palestinian is a blessing. It's also sometimes a curse. Even though we come from a place of conflict and we leave the country of origin behind, we carry it in our hearts. It's about people, it's about heritage, it's about food, and it's about politics. It's about hurt and injury and occupation. So it's a mixed bag.
Daoud Aboudiab is a Palestinian American who grew up in Jerusalem. As a young man, he immigrated to the U.S. in search of an education and better opportunities. At first, things looked promising.
Went to college, I got my undergraduate, my graduate. I fell in love with an American woman, Robin. We married and we have a child, and life is good. But then there's a reminder that maybe you're not one of us.
In 2008, several members of a white supremacist group firebombed the Islamic Center in Daoud's hometown of Columbia, Tennessee.
I felt marginalized. I felt that I didn't belong, that I'm not welcome, not wanted.
The event had a profound impact on Daoud and the Muslim community, setting him on a new path.
Within a week, with the help of the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, a vigil was organized, bringing, even then at that point, people with different backgrounds from the community. People came together to say, not in our town, and in a sense it was the beginning of the Faith and Culture Center.
Daoud co-founded Nashville's Faith and Culture Center, or FCC, with his late friend Bernard Worthen, a businessman from the local Jewish community. From day one, their goal was to create empathy and understanding between people from different backgrounds.
It's about building a community where everyone is welcome, heard, seen. Israelis and Palestinians, Jews and Christians and Arabs. It's the same dream, is to be at peace with one another, to respect our differences, to love others, maybe even before we understand them.
And to help bring people together, every Faith and Culture Center program has one thing in common.
Food is the central underlying thing that exists at every single one of our programs. There is no Faith and Culture Center program in which there is not a meal. Having a shared meal is the catalyst for those conversations and for those relationships that we're trying to build within our community.
It breaks the intimidation that people have when they come across somebody they don't know. They don't know what to expect. Then you sit around and you give them the coffee or you put the plate of food in front of them, and there is a warmth. I always say it's like it warms the heart, you know.
Dr. Nahed Artul-Zir and Nadia Owaida-Crank are part of a small team that operates the Faith and Culture Center. While Nahed is a Christian Palestinian and Nadia is a Muslim Palestinian, it's their shared experiences that inform their work.
We have experienced marginalization, we've experienced hate, we've experienced bigotry, and what we all believe is that those things only exist because people don't really know one another. And once they're given the opportunity to connect with a person who's not like them, those boundaries, those artificial walls, all of those things really go away.
It's that very idea that inspired their flagship program called A Seat at the Table.
A seat at the table brings a diverse mix of Muslims and non-Muslims together over a meal, break bread together, and give them a productive method and approach for talking about their differences. We're inviting people into a conversation and ultimately into a relationship that we believe will transform the way that they see people who are not like them.
I just wanted to understand more, because these are people of faith every bit as much as I believe I'm a person of faith.
These events actually give me the opportunity to clear misconceptions, understand others, answer their questions, and we all build bridges, build bridges between us and not walls.
Most of us have layered identities. We're not just one thing. We're many things, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes us people. That's what gives us the ability to relate to others who are not like us.
We can bring people around the table from different backgrounds, and we all can agree, on the same values we share here, being neighbors, being, living in the same community.
My hardest thing is getting over me.
If you allow yourself to open up, you start listening to other people and you hear their stories. That gets us to a better place, always.
To learn more about the people and places featured on NPT's Next Door Neighbor series, visit our website at ndn.wnpt.org. Thanks for watching.
Next Door Neighbors is made possible by the support of the Nissan Foundation.